Hello, guys. Welcome to the podcast, Notes from My Journal, a space where I share life experiences, good food, and travels, and anything in between. Something can always pop up and we'll learn from it, right? So, these are the things we'll be discussing together, and I want you to come along. Welcome to the Notes from My Journal podcast.
I know.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Have you been? I'd like you to. Okay, let me just say briefly how we met. It was through Clubhouse, and you invited me to. What was it called on Clubhouse?
Look at girl talk.
Yeah, Girl Talk, and be one of the hosts. It was my first time hosting on Clubhouse, by the way.
Really? Oh, I think
Yeah,
you told me that. Never mind.
yeah. Yeah, and it was a really good one. It was very enlightening hearing everybody's point of view.
Yeah.
I was thankful for that. And so I would like you to introduce yourself. Yeah.
Okay. So you already know my name. My name is Janice. I'm from Nigeria, and I live in the US. I moved here for school. Graduated 2 years ago. Got a job in clinical research and drug development. So I work for a startup biotech company, and I work at an institution. And so just don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing something.
Aren't we all? Right.
So that's really, I'm a very simple, I'm a Christian,
Right.
firm believer of God and the Word of God, and that's what I want to say about it.
Right.
I find it very difficult. Like when I do job interviews,
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, tell me about yourself." I'm just like, I don't know if you want the real me or you want the me that looks good on paper. Which one do you want?
Tell me which one you want, right?
Yeah, because if you want the real me, I'm ready. The real me is a mess, but okay.
Yeah. Beautiful one at that. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for coming. Accepting the invitation to come on this pod. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Today we'll be talking about imperfections. We do all have one imperfection or the other, and the topic would be compassion for our imperfection. Yeah. I wrote a journal about that, and maybe towards the end of our conversation, I'll read it like I used to in each episode. For me, growing up, I think I had. I think I grew up being a very highly sensitive person, so the things that would interest people around me. I don't know why I'm having a cough, and I'm trying so hard not to.
It's okay.
I'm sorry, you have to pardon me, and everybody's going to listen to this. That's going to be a one-time thing.
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I was very well aware of my posture, how I work, and gradually how I looked. I loved how I looked. I did. I'm not gonna lie, but I used to have very, very full eyebrows, and I was like, I used to admire girls who had slim eyebrows and things. So I tried to trim it off into the proper shape that I liked. I then got into uni, found really different shades and colors of people. I think I noticed that people in Nigeria had a favoritism. It's not like they do it on purpose, but they just tend to be nicer to people, light-skinned girls, especially in the 2000s, 90s, 2000s, 2010. It was the thing of in those time. And also, I think when I was in high school, my all my friends were like very curvy, like curvy from maybe secondary SS1. And me, I'm like, wait, what's going on? What's going on here? And yeah, so I think I started puberty late, and no, I wouldn't say late. I just think I wanted curves in places that was considered mature for an African woman, even though I was already, yeah. So those are the one of few things I felt insecure about, even though I didn't need to. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, if we had like the marginal world standard, everybody be like, come on, you're fine. You know what I mean? Like, if we were going to
Right.
look at teenagers everywhere, maybe in Mexico, America, Africa, Asia, all together, everybody be like, come on, you're fine. But we all have cultural standards that we measure ourselves with growing up, and yeah, and things like that. So what was yours?
Um. So I'm trying to think. Well, I had a lot of I wouldn't say insecurities.
Right.
I had a lot of things that I struggled with growing up. So I was very skinny. I had a problem with food growing up. I didn't like
Right.
to eat. I was that kid. My mom would actually sit down, beg me. I mean, I'm a teenager. My mom would sit down, hey, go eat now. Like, hey, go eat. I was very skinny and I was always sick. And I had a lot of, just health challenges growing up as a kid. So I was that kid where in school I had to show up as this strong girl, because I remember my first year of high school I got bullied a lot. And I got bullied, but my sister is she's very stubborn. She's the, if you beat me, I will beat you right now. I will kick you. I will do this to you. And then I'm more of the, I want, daddy said step aside. Daddy said go home. Daddy said, So I wouldn't speak up for myself. I wouldn't stand up for myself. And I used to cry a lot in school. So many people took that for, oh, I'm very weak. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. So I had to change school, and then I went to a different school. And so during the holidays, my sister was just like prepping me. You need to stand up for yourself. You need to do this, you need to do that. So I was like, okay. But I just knew I didn't have it in my nature to be very chaotic, stubborn, fighting. So like, it's just not me. I need a moment to go away, cry, do something.
Right.
So but then I learned to speak up for myself without getting in a fight with anybody. And so that's one of I started to transition. And then I picked up several habits because I had a lot of friends. So I picked up different habits from people that sort of, at that point, I didn't really know. I would say I knew who I was.
Yes,
I could.
I can relate.
I didn't know me, so I would blend in on anything.
Yeah.
And then but I was very fortunate. I had my dad was very, he observed his kids. Right. So my dad observed when you're changing, like what's up with you, like what's going on with you. Yeah. My mom paid attention to things that were like very obvious, for like maybe religion, me not wanting to go to church, me not wanting to be in the choir anymore. Right. And the reason I didn't want to be in the choir anymore is because, so I come from a Christian home. Yeah. And we even have a church in our house, like because we have a hall, and then the church uses the hall for service. And so I would judge myself so harshly. I had a boyfriend in high school, and then I was in the choir, so like I felt insecure about being in the church. I'm like, look at you, you have a boyfriend, like you're kissing a boy, and then you are coming to sing praise the Lord in church. So I judged myself so harshly. And that's because, for one, it was my lack of identity, and also not knowing God for myself. So I moved to the US for school, and a lot of things changed. Before moving to the US, I became a little bit intentional. I was paying attention to like, who am I? I wanted to know who I was. Like, I wanted to know myself. I wanted to be confident. I wanted to be different. I wanted to show up in the world, as a very different person. And so when I came to the US, I was like, okay, reading books, talking to people. I started to have mentors, people to coach me. People that were not my parents, I would feel more comfortable talking about certain things that, maybe out of respect, I wouldn't want to tell my dad, something like
True.
that. And so that's kind of where the switch happens. I was also very insecure about my legs. So I have a very sensitive skin. And if I use certain things or water, it could affect my skin. I would have like rashes. And so I had like a very bumpy hard spot on my legs. So I was very
Yes.
insecure about my legs. And they made fun of me in high school. Like I had this one girl, she's one of my best friends, but she would call me spotted legs in high school. And it used to make me so
Right.
because I was insecure about my legs, I
Yeah.
would notice every girl who had a bad leg. Like the first thing I would notice about anybody was their legs. And
Mm.
when I knew myself more, I had to check that, like, because when I started to see myself as just beautiful, I look good, it came natural for me to not pick out on, oh, who has the final leg, whose legs are straight, who looks like,
Exactly.
so it's not a finite pie right now. Like I'm a work in progress,
Right.
but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, but I get the point of, because sometimes is what we feel insecure about that we see in others without even knowing that we are going through stuff. Just like you mentioned that appreciating yourself as a
Right.
whole and seeing the beauty, you also saw that in all others. So how did you overcome these challenges? You mentioned it already by wanting to who you asked yourself questions like who am I when you relocated to the US. The moving and being in a new environment gave you the opportunity to like rebrand yourself, to get to know yourself better. And what were the things you did, like connecting with people or books you read or something that jump started this new discovery journey?
So I want to say the most important thing was, I mean, when I came my first year of school, it was just get good grades, get scholarship. Like that was first year of school, it was just school, school, school.
Right.
And but something happened to me. I had something that happened to me, and that shifted the ground for me.
Yeah.
So I lost my dad,
Oh,
and so I
so
went
sorry
through.
about that. Yeah.
Thank you. I went through some major shift changes. Well, one of most important thing that happened, pain sometimes gives birth to a new beginning.
Right.
And my new beginning was finding God for myself. So there was a rift between me and God. I was mad at God. I didn't want God. I didn't want to know God. I would say I didn't like God at that point in time because I was so upset. Because I had a lot of questions. There's so many things that I was like, God cannot love me and let this happen to me. And so the rift between me and God. But I kept seeing how faithful God was to me. Like God opened so many doors. Like He was showing me that, hey, come here. This happened, but I'm here with you.
Yeah.
We're in this together. So when God was showing me ways, like I wanted to understand God. So I found people that were on that frequency. Someone like some people I never got to meet them. I've never met them. Probably won't. Like Sarah Jakes. I would listen to her word. Listen to her podcast. I started to redefine myself, but more redefining myself in God. There was this confidence that came. There was this trust, this faith where I didn't believe in myself, but I trusted a higher power to do things, to be there, to open the doors for me. I became very intentional about the books, the things I would listen to. I tried to listen to like Brené Brown. She's inspired my life a lot. And so that was a moment where I said, you know what, I want to rewrite my life. I want to rewrite my life, and I want to forgive myself for not doing right by me from the beginning. And so when I made that decision, there's so many things that had to change. My friends, the conversations, the people, how I showed up in the world had to change. And so when I went through that process of redefining myself, I came to understand who I was. I became a very big critique of myself, but without really attacking my character and giving myself grace. I think it's so important. It's like, because back then when something would happen, I would hit my, I'd be like, oh, I'm just stupid. I'm a bad
Right.
person, I did this. But then I was able to separate some of my actions from who I was. That's not me. And that allowed me to change, to reflect, to work on things. I had a friend who told me one time, she said, in between our daily routine is where life exists. So if you really want to know yourself, like, you have to go backwards. What do you do? What the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? So I was very intentional, like the things I'm trying to create a routine. I'm not very faithful on my routine because I'm a very
Yeah.
spontaneous person too.
Yeah.
But just doing all of that, taking the time learning about myself, talking to my friends and talking to good friends where I know if they tell me, oh, Janice, you do this, I know it comes from a place of love.
Mm-hmm.
I know where it comes from. And so I think I'm not exact again, I'm not where I'm supposed to be or where I want to be, but I've done way better. And that's because I've been very intentional about myself. So
Yeah. Right. That was deep. If I had a note, I'll be jotting.
but I'm curious though. I want to know, so how did you work through yours? Being in a different
Mine,
country.
yes, yeah. Mine was I had also a life-changing event that would be almost 5 years ago that made me start seeing life differently. Not immediately, of course. I had to walk through it. I remember I told myself then that I needed to journal, but I didn't. I just had those ideas in my head. But when the lockdown started, it was like I was placed in a vacuum of being my own, and I had to now face all my insecurities, things in the past that I had not faced, and I had to sit down and do the inner work. So it took a lot. It started with uh podcasts. I started listening to podcasts, and then
Mm.
I moved into books. I don't know if you know Jay Shetty. I read his book, I listened to his podcast, and then
What do you say his name is again?
Jay Shetty. Jay Shetty.
Okay,
Yeah.
check it out.
Yeah. And I also had this book, What No One Can Teach Us. So I'm still going to the core of it, but I'm taking it from the bits, the baby steps that I
Right.
had to take gradually. So those was the gradual process. And then I think in 2020 again, that was the first event was 5 years ago. Then in 2020 there was like another life changing event that now actually shook me to the core, and I'm like, you know what, this old operating system is not working anymore. I need to find me, to know what I'm made of. I need to really connect with my creator. I grew up as a Christian. My parents are strong believers of Jehovah God. However, my grandfather used to tell me something growing up, because I used to have Bible study with him as well. He told me something that we all have a relationship with God. The fact that your parents or your grandparents or all your family members are Christians, and how the depth of their spirituality does not spill over into yours. Each, like
Mm.
the verse says, that each of us will carry his or her own load. I'm trying to remember the verse, but when I do, maybe I'll speak about it. Each of us will carry his own load, which means we are blessed to have, parents, relatives, and also us getting to know God. But we also have the responsibility to have a strong creator. And he told me that when I was, well, like what, maybe almost 2 decades ago, like I was very young. during one of
Wow.
our studies. Yeah, but that, if there's anything I did not forget, it is that one. It is that one. So when it was time, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do the work. And during those self discovery, I came to realize that spirituality and religion are two different things. You need to have a strong relationship with God and
Yes.
also serve Him correctly.
Yep.
Yeah, so back to the baby steps of podcasts and this and that, and then the second event that now happened. I'm like, you know what, I started picking up books, started jotting out things, words as they were in my mind. That journal, maybe one day I'll talk about it. I call it the messy journal. Everything was just there, no structure. It was just as it comes. I was just writing
Greatly broken.
it. Do you get? I was. It was. I mean, if I give you the journal to read, you can't even read my handwriting. I'm telling you. It was just like I was just pouring it out, everything that I absorbed over a period of years that I needed to process, and I think I had to. I needed to process it through writing. So yeah, that was the one. The ones that came after, I even have what's it called, column markers. They have headings. The journals that came
Mhm.
after that one, they have like points. I'm like, okay, this is progress. Yeah. Yeah. So um how did I process this? It became the process. It took a lot. It took professional help. I spoke with professionals. I had to pay for sessions, to actually speak the things, to speak of about things from what I think is my point of view, to see what works, and then walk me through getting to know me exactly. There's the Reading the book of Jay Shetty. There was, I think, from the second chapter, there was this point where he said, look into this. He walked into a store, and in the store, like, there was, like, when you enter a store that is filled up with boxes and old stuffs, like, just store that people put things in, maybe at home or something. And then he said there was a mirror that had the cover on it, like a cloth. And then he took off the cloth, and there was so much dust. It's been there for a long time. But then he used his hand to wipe out the dust on the mirror, and then he could see himself clearly. And he said,
Mm.
yeah, he said, this is what we all need to do for ourselves. That sometimes it gets to a point in your life, you need to sit down and clear the dust in the mirror so you can actually see you. And that's actually the point where you ask yourself, who am I? You get to sit down and do the work to see who you really are. How do you want to show up? Not because of what you were told you are or what society tells you to be, because there's some things that just being in a particular environment makes you behave in a certain way.
Yep.
And then, so yeah, those are the steps I took gradually. I listened to a lot of podcasts, I would say, a lot. And I have like 2 to 3 more books that I read. And then, yeah, spirituality, I sat down, I did the work. Prayer was on point.
Yep.
As it should be.
Yeah.
As it should be. And yeah, I came to realize that there is no structure, there's no yeah, there's no how would I say, there's no benchmark for beauty. The curvy women who looked mature, like when you're in Africa, if you are curvy, they look at you as mature. I see that people would pass me by. I don't necessarily mean like the I'm not if I want to talk about like the opposite sex, the male version, that's different. But now I'm talking about even women. So
Yeah.
women, like, it's not because they do it intentionally, but they will talk to maybe a friend of mine, and they will, some questions and conversations they will have with that person is because of the physical look that person is having. And that conversation would not have been had with me because I looked a bit lanky. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I'm this person's age mate, but I don't look like that person because I always had a baby face. I still do. People think I'm like it's sometimes I'm surprised when people someone told me one time that she was talking about a particular because I love to travel. She was like, oh, if I come to a country, there's this ticket I can get, a train ticket I can get to get a discount. Is it's for people who are 26 and below.
What?
I was like, oh, that's nice, but I wouldn't qualify for that. She was like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. She's like, why? I'm like, oh, I'm way older. She was like, no. I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, well, I took it after my mom. I don't do anything. Yeah. So imagine then. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, somebody who might look at me and now say, nah, I don't think so, you look your age, but you never know. Everybody has different perspective of how they view people, right? So I just came to realize that no matter where you are, even if you move different countries, every country, every culture has their own beauty standards. Like when I moved here, I realized people who were like size 0 and 2 and 1s were like called the beauty, that was the beauty standard. I was like, interesting. I was like, interesting. Like, okay, is this the skinny that was trying to run away from?
Right. You move somewhere and then it's different.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
but even that is crazy because and that's why I remember you talking about when we started talking, you talked about having full brows and that how that was something that you didn't appreciate. People are paying thousands of dollars buying
right.
products now. And that's the thing, the standard of beauty changes because we're a sick society. Everyone, and we think about it like we're in scarcity culture. We're
Yeah.
not feeling enough, we're not beautiful enough, we're not enough. And so, and every time we're picking up we're picking up the standard of things, we're picking up different norms and, making that a standard for how we should live our lives. I think when you start to realize, because this is my thing, I'll ask my mom or ask people like, who said that? Why?
Mm-hmm.
I started to question things. And I realized something. And when I realized this, I think it changed how I viewed myself and how I would normally, for the lack of the right word yet, rate myself.
Right.
When I came to the US, I was friends. I had a lot of friends, but we had a small Nigerian population at my school.
Right.
And I noticed something. There's this set of girls. They're actually my friends now. One of them is my close friend. I noticed they used to pick up on people, like, they'll make fun of people, they'll poke fun at people. I have one of my close friends where, like, they would, call her fat or just say some mean things, but in a very, I'm trying to be funny, I'm laughing with you,
Laugh about it.
But something I realized about this, because they couldn't do that with me. When I realized something about them was these girls were very insecure.
Right.
They didn't feel good about themselves. They didn't feel beautiful. They didn't feel pretty. These girls, you're an outfit, she could take hours telling you, why do you look like this? Your tummy is showing this, that. And you know what? And I thought to myself, I'm like, that's probably what you would tell yourself if you wore a dress and you look like that.
Exactly.
That's what you would tell yourself, because nobody who feels beautiful on the inside, like, it comes natural. Like, you see beauty all around you and you can see it from the inside, so I see someone who's wearing a dress, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so, like, I would say things like, she's beautiful in her own way, like, and physical. I started to appreciate the inner beauty, because I noticed some of the people I really like, there's something that confidence shows up in our outlook. Like, you can wear a dress, that I wear the same dress, the same outfit, but there's something, because I feel good on the inside, because I feel fine on the inside, I feel well, like, I feel I'm at peace with who I am. I don't feel like I have to change in a moment about myself. The only thing I need to change is, working on myself and growing more to be more.
Exactly.
So when I feel that way, it shows up. It shows up in a room. Like I come in, there's a different level of confidence that sometimes it comes off as pride. Oh, this one. But that's not it. It's just that I feel good about myself. I feel good. I feel fine. I feel well. I feel beautiful. There are certain things, I mean, obviously, at times when you break out, you're like, oh, my skin is not, but I'm
Yeah.
very careful. And I like, oh no, that's not what it is. Like I would correct you real quick.
Right. And the
Like,
confidence radiates in even in the dress, or
yeah.
yeah.
So just doing that and knowing that really saved me, because I know people who actually, I remember a girl, she went to my school, and but we just followed. I didn't meet her at the time I came. She left my school. We connected on Instagram. I remember sometimes she had sent a message and, just describing her experience with people. I felt really bad. I was like, no, nobody should ever make anybody feel less of
People
themselves.
say, yeah.
Like, how do you sleep at night that you're the reason someone, feels ugly, someone feels bad, someone feels fat? And I tell you what, it's 2022.
Right.
These people are still like that.
They don't I don't want to say they don't, but I'm like, when will they change?
No, because they're not intentional. Like the
Yeah.
conversations we would have back in college, I would
It's
still
still the
have, like,
same.
it's still the same. Like there's no
Yeah.
growth, there's no improvement.
Right.
And it's very sad, but then it also makes me, I feel good for not, giving up on myself that time. Like I look at it, I'm just like, wow, you're a literal mess. Like you are a literal mess.
Yeah.
you know but
Yeah.
that's why it's so important, because if we don't take the stand to know ourselves, to be in touch with ourselves, people are going to tell us who we're supposed to be.
To be true.
And like, and that's where the insecurities, the lack of confidence, we get to a point where we don't even trust ourselves.
That's
And
true.
the other thing that helped me was I learned to give myself grace. A lot of times when things happen to us, we're looking for pity parties, for people to
Mm-hmm.
tell us that it's okay. I've learned to, you know what, Janice, you got to say in that course, that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You try it. Like I've learned, because initially I'll be hard on myself. The standard is an A. This that. You know what? If it happens, I got to see. So be it. But
Right.
where do we go from here? What could I have done differently? What could I have done? Could I have talked to the prophet? Like just working my way backwards, showing myself some grace and not being so hard on myself. Because there are people who are ready to jump on you to crucify you. Hey, you did
For
this,
real.
all this. I was listening to Brené Brown's Netflix show. I love her. And she
Yeah.
said something, um, putting it in my words. Basically, she said, you cannot let people who are very big critique of themselves, people who will never speak up for themselves, go show up in a room with confidence or do something more for themselves, tell you who you're supposed to be. And this is me not saying in our exact words, but kind of just be branding it and saying it
Right.
the way I
Right.
understood it. And that's why it's so important. Like the voices, who are we, who is telling us who we're supposed to be? Because particular now about the friends that I keep, and there were friends where, like, I know where it's coming from. I know. I had a friend, I used to use the dating app Hinge, and sometimes I'll tell her about something. She was like, Janice, that's not who you are though.
Right.
So
She
like,
could reflect it to you. She could tell you.
yeah, because she
Yeah.
knew me, she
Yeah.
understood me, she's a part of the vision.
Exactly.
And so it's really like the work. Yes, we do so many things, pray, but we have to be intentional about the people we let into our space. Like that was the biggest thing for me. God, knowing myself, but also in order to sustain the work that I've done and not let it blow into pieces the next day, was just getting the right people in my corner. That it was so important. Getting the right people in my corner.
Right.
Right.
Which is very important, because when you have a good circle of people who you guys share the same values. Even when you unconsciously sleep, they're like, hey, you're sleeping. Like, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
It's a different. They say you are who you hang out with. So if you are hanging out with the right people, you tend, if you are if one person out of 10 is hanging out with 9 people, there's a possibility that the 10th person will be like the rest of the 9.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, people friends, the right social community is very important. So it's time for me to read the journal.
Yay. Ding, ding, ding. Drum rolling.
Okay, here it goes. Compassion for my imperfection. I have come to know more about myself and love the me I'm discovering. The more I discover little things about me, the more I am in awe of this beautiful creation called me. From my gorgeous, kinky, fussy hair to my beautiful eyes that slightly close up when I smile ear to ear. And it makes me look like my eyes are closed, even though I can see everything clearly. Then, my cute little roundly pointed nose, cute enough to look funny when I have a smell of ice cream on it, and obviously when it's soft brushes. Skip that part.
Beautiful.
Okay, and you know what? Scratch that. I'll take it again. Okay, then my cute little roundly pointed nose, cute enough to look funny when I have ice cream on it, and obviously soft brushes when kissing. LOL. And the most and the most important thing is the ability to breathe and smell. Oh Lord, my nose are sensitive. They smell things. My shower gels, perfumes, roll-ons, stuffy room, spoiled food, even everything that smells, till anything that has residue in spaces. But the amazing part of the sense of my sense of smell is that it's it is very relative of everything. The shower gel I used yesterday might be triggering tomorrow, and that goes to perfumes, fresheners, flowers, and anything basically that I adore and has a nice fragrance can be the least I'm attracted to the next day, depending on my mood or constant or energy level or anything that relates to my well-being, and I love it. I have come to a place of acceptance and seeing the beauty of being uniquely different. My
Mm,
gorgeous slaves, how and what can I do to begin to describe you? Finely shaped with curves to die for, the upper lips well defined and structured, and as I use my fingers to feel my lips in the best way to describe it, as I write, I am just in awe of this wonderful baby God bless me with. How on earth have I overlooked you? I apologize, my dear, for all these years of not noticing how incredibly gorgeous you are. So much that when someone scratch that.
next. Oh my God.
Okay, we know where that's going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, forgive me for not forgive me for not taking note of you for this long, but I promise you this will never again happen for a long time. I promise you. And do you even know that as I'm writing this, I giggle at myself about how expressive I've become with no fear lingering to hold me back? It is such a good feeling. Maybe someday I'll write about the fear I had generally that crippled me in the past, but that's a story for another day. For today, it's only about gorgeousness of being a human being. I used to have the most gorgeous tummy, flat as hell. Excuse my French. My aunties used to ask me how I was able to keep this despite eating all the African delicacies we used to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, I was a teenager and maybe I burned so many calories due to fun activities and plenty studying. Either way, I had the body till my early 20s. Then I went through a life crisis and added weight. And even though fitness had become a lifestyle, I haven't given my flat tummy. I haven't gotten my flat tummy back, or maybe I haven't focused my attention towards it well enough. But boy, they are gorgeous. Light skin, caramel beauty. I won't trade them for any other tummy. They were once flat, they became big to accommodate me, food to keep me alive, and I can't thank it enough, nor be less grateful for the amazing work it has done in my life. And that's it, guys.
It's
That's
beautiful
it
though.
about the whole
Oh,
body imperfection and the place that I scratched. It's about someone passing a comment. People pass negative comments to you, and instead of you debunking it, you end up absorbing it, and before you know it, you start seeing yourself in that image you're not. So that was what I wrote about, but I don't want to, it was too detailed.
that's
That's why I
okay.
scratched it.
That is
Yeah.
beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I hope this little, it's not little, this is almost 40 minutes. I hope this pod is gonna motivate so appreciate their being, what they think is an insecurity is actually not an insecurity at all.
Yeah.
What do you have to say? What do you think? What do you think about the journal?
I love I like that you were very particular about the words that you use to describe yourself.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like I'm reading a French novel or something. I love
Right.
the words that you used to, especially after going through, you know, the things that you've been through and,
Right.
your fair share of insecurities, but you've evolved from that.
Right.
And now you're showing up as just who you are supposed to be, who God wants you to be. And I think it's just beautiful. And the take home message from this is just, you are beautiful.
Right.
You are
Appreciate
you are
that.
perfect. You are awesome. And when you think about it, word of God, and I always go back to the word of God, God made us in his own image.
Right.
Like, I think I look like God, like, and he's awesome. He's perfect.
Right.
He's loving, he's kind. And so look at yourself through that. See yourself through that. Find people who see you through the lens that God sees you. To
Right.
the lens of that, I am gracefully broken. I am flawed yet graceful.
Perfectly imperfect.
Yes, it's so important. And say these things to yourself to believe them. Write it down somewhere. Say it over and over again till you start to believe it, that it's true. I'm perfect. I'm beautiful. I make mistakes. I could do something bad, but I'm not a bad person. Like, say it over and
Exactly.
over again till it starts to make sense, till it sinks in. Because trust me, when you do it over and over again, you you start to believe it. Sometimes when you
Exactly.
lie, you almost have to believe your lie. It's
I'm
the same
telling you, that's
thing.
why they say words are so important.
It's so important. you
So
know.
yeah. So if it's a good lie you need to trick yourself into, you better do
It's
it.
a mind game. It's really a
Yeah.
mind game.
Yeah.
And this is another thing to note. Before we leave,
Yeah.
the reality is that we're human beings with, we have all the ability to feel every core emotional affect. We can feel shame, we can feel love, we can feel these emotions. So you could do all the work today, and tomorrow something happens and you just feel like shit. I'm sorry, pardon my French. You just
Yeah.
feel you just feel like not yourself. Like, God, I did all this work yesterday. I felt confident yesterday. I felt good about myself. And today, you know what? I don't feel good. I
Right.
don't
That
feel
that
good.
that happens. So they say healing is not linear. It goes
Yep,
up and down. Yeah.
yep, yep.
Mm.
And when you get to that point, you need to find a way to go back to that thing that makes you find your music again.
Right.
For me, it's the word of God. Some days I'm just gonna declare it a listen to Sarah Jake's sermon because I want to feel good about myself. And like we know ourselves. When I feel like I've slipped in a moment, okay, okay, I don't feel good. I could shut down, maybe not go out, just go back to the drawing board, but not doing it over again, just doing it better. I
Better.
think it's like that up and down when we're like, oh, I don't feel good today, and then we give up. No, that's really the time where you have to go back. It's okay. We're gonna fall several times, but we thank God for the opportunity for life to be able to pick ourselves back up again. And
Back
that's
again.
so important.
That's
But
the
yeah.
key. That's the key.
Oh, it's somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the input. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I love this. I actually love this. I've never done a podcast with anybody, so thank you. It went well.
Thank you so much, Janice, for coming. Did I pronounce your name well?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Oh, thank God.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Yeah. I'm so glad you came on the pod, and yeah, this is so much depth, insightful. I would say. Um, I'm sure everyone would, as we did, enjoyed recording it,
Yes.
and looking forward to more. So, um, thanks again.
Thank
Would
you.
obviously love you to come again some other
Yes.
time, maybe.
I meet up.
Oh, why not? So yeah, right, everyone. I hope you do enjoy this podcast, and looking forward to having you here again for something interesting next week. Yeah, always, as we always do, there's always something to listen to, something to enjoy, and do hope that you have a wonderful week and a new week coming ahead. And until then, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.